You know, if you were a comedy fan in Canada in the mid 1980s, you had a good bastion of comedy groups: Corky and the Juice Pigs, Kids in the Hall, Cod Code, the Royal Canadian Air Force. And this group, which basically could have been superstars of the Canadian industry, but for some reason, they flamed out around the time of Just for Laughs. They performed there and they stunk out the joint that it stopped their momentum cold. But when the Frantics were on, boys, it was an era. Now this is a Canadian comedy troupe consisting of Paul Chatter, Rick Green, Dan Redican, and Peter Wildman. The group formed in '79. Chatter and Green had written and performed together as a comedy team since high school. They joined the in-house comedy troupe at the Pink Flamingo Cabaret in Toronto, where they met Peter Wildman. One day, Redican, who had been performing as a satirical folk singer and puppeteer in London, appeared at the Flamingo's Poopy Diane, performing a Marxist kiddie show. The three recruited Redican and then formed the Frantics, leaving the Big Flamingo to go it alone, performing in the local comedy scene, touring holiday inns and campuses, and ultimately headlining at big city clubs. And this is where the Boot to the Head skit and Mr. Coon and the Canoehead had its genesis. In '81, they were given a weekly radio slot on the CBC radio show Variety Tonight, then hosted by Vicky Gabbro. In the summer of '82, they were the summer replacement for a Royal Canadian Air Force. They got their own permanent time slot in the fall of '83. Between '81 and '84, their show Frantic Times ran for 113 episodes. Each episode regularly featured a female special guest. In the early episodes, this was Caroline Scott, who later was Meg Ruffman. Sound effects formed an important part of the show and were generally provided by Kathy Perry, a longtime CBC sound technician and later a producer at CBC. The album Frantic Times, which is a classic if you can find it, was released in '84 and collected the best sketches and songs for a radio show. In 2003, Deep Shag Records reissued the album with a new cover and three previously unreleased selections. Now in '84, the troupe was a feature act with a number of sketches in the television pilot, the no-name show for TV Ontario, which was not picked up for a series. In '86, the troupe successfully moved to television, producing a CBC series called Four on the Floor, which lasted only one season of 13 very hilarious episodes, and of course with the Boot to the Head song. A couple of short radio series followed, including Friend of the Fun Day, a three-part spoof of Anne of Green Gables in '87, and the eight-part for the Frantics look at the history in 1988. The Frantics were noted for off-the-wall humor, with some skits and novelty songs reminiscent of The Goon Show and Monty Python's Flying Circus. They satirized everything from suicide hotlines to current ads to Tom Swift's science fiction. They were particularly known for the recurring character Mr. Canoehead, a crime fighter with a full-size aluminum canoe welded to his head by lightning. The battle cry was Taisk and Wally, and for the catchphrase Boot to the Head, which is also titled our most famous sketch. That sketch, I've seen animated versions, is just great. It's like with every end of year well reading should end. Now, some of the Frantics radio sketches were also aired in the States on the Dr. Demento show, as were later Canadian comedy acts such as Arrogant Worms and the Vestibules. In 2004, the troupe reformed, returning to stage with a mix of new and old material, which was released on CD in the form of the official bootleg CD, live at the Tim Sims Playhouse. Following success of their older but wider stage tour in Ontario, the Frantics filmed a comedy special for the Comedy Network CTV in 2005, entitled The Frantics Reunion Special, which aired on January 28, 2006. He also appeared at the 2005 Winnipeg Comedy Festival, which was broadcast at the CBC Festival of Funny radio show. This marked their first on-air reunion since '88. He also appeared at Gala of the Festival, which aired on CBC television in March 2006. Now, recent engagements include live performances at the Jane Millette Theatre in Toronto, featuring a mix of new and revived material. Now, in 2009, the troupe also staged a one-night-only 30th anniversary performance, at which they released their new CD, Frantic Noises. After a fundraiser on Indiegogo ending November 2016, a Best of Frantic Times has been set up, mostly exporting pieces from the CBC radio show, but with occasional pieces of more recent material, publishing what is to be 30 episodes. Discography, of course, Frantic Times, Boot to the Head, the official bootleg, Enemies of Reason, and Frantic Noises. Now, the Frantics at the time were almost like a PG version of Kids in the Hall. They were more, a very, very strong Canadian style. Now, the humor, like, Corky and the Juice Pigs as well. They did like video humor and all that, but the Just for Laughs festival, it was basically the it made him and break him. Now in Frantics website, the Frantics.com about us, the boys still look very healthy and hearty. The When he started in '79, it led to, like, again, a great success. Now, we started to work the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. Of course, being a Canadian event, they weren't interested in Canadian acts. The CBC threw its weight around. We were reluctantly inserted in the lineup. After sold out, huge successful shows at Club Soda, we became regulars at the festival. Our final stage show, The Frantics Walk Upright, a journey through history, it was our most successful and most profitable stage show. Without getting into the gory details, we decided it was time to call it quits. It was '89. Four on the Floor went into endless reruns. It was a great ride. Now, if the Frantics ever get back together, I mean, and no offense, Trailer Park Boys is also very, very funny. But that Boot to the Head skit, I mean, Benny Coon, and you look at important sketches of the 80s and 90s, you got Gay Eskimo by Corky and the Juice Pigs. You got the Bible Pimps by our boys, Trailer Park Boys in the 2000s. Kids in the Hall, Screw You Taxpayer. I mean, Codco with the religious, the talking priests, and the Doris Day skit. Ladies and gentlemen, we did not create sketch comedy, but with Wayne and Schuster, all these children are grandsons of Wayne and Schuster. Some are clean comedy, some are negative, but there's a Southern Ontario spin, like outside of Toronto with the Frantics, and like I said, they only had so much talent. I mean, they were a very cerebral group, but the idea, ladies and gentlemen, the Animals was a great rock band at the time of the Beatles. They had their fans, and the Frantics still have their fans. And this is a throwback. I went with a couple of students at NBCC Woodstock who would get drunk and quote from the Frantics Boot to the Head sketch, like they knew what was going on. And I told them, I said, you don't even know how to tell the story. I took off my sneaker and I said, two assholes talking in front of a smart Acadian. What do you give them? A boot to the head. And I threw my sneaker at him. I said, that's how you work it. So it's kind of weird sketch. But Mr. Canoehead, he should be a comic book. I mean, I can see the crossover with Canadian Tire and Kent and all that. So the Frantics, 5-star comedy, ladies and gentlemen. And one of the Frantics has his own podcast channel now talking about, of all things, TV of the 70s and 80s. Should check it out. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what they're doing here with our Canadian media tributes, let us know in a like, comment, subscribe, or share.